Hello everyone again, this is Koji from Celestial Rhythms. Well, we are in the middle of this election thriller which started with the elections, and if you want to go back to my earlier videos, you will hear the whole setup here astrologically, the build-up of energies, and I'm just now, this is kind of a sequel, if you want, of this story unfolding, this crazy ride we're going through into truth, into the unveiling of what really happened. So yeah, I just beamed forward here a little bit. We're looking at November the 27th. That is 10 days from now when I'm doing this recording, when heliocentric Mercury-Eris opposition will be exact, and I'm showing you here first the geocentric picture of that moment, and you see already this is an outstanding energizing of reality which happens in that moment. So this is really when the floodgates will be opened, and I see within less than a week after that the first big arrests to roll in under the upcoming third Pallas-Saturn conjunction in December. On the 2nd, you see again Uranus rising. It's almost the same arrangement of energies as 6 days earlier, when Uranus, the moon, was conjunct opposing Venus. So let me show you the whole build-up. Let's just first look quickly here at the heliocentric chart of that moment, and this is the one for Greenwich, and this is the, yeah, I guess I only have the Greenwich chart here, that's fine. So we have Mercury at 2401 in Libra, opposing Aries at 2401 Aries. Again, that's on the 27th. And that is 8:12:47 p.m. Universal or Greenwich Mean Time. That is somewhere mid-afternoon, 3:13 or so p.m. in North America, in Washington, D.C. So this moment, Mercury opposing Aries and squaring Pluto. Here you see 2424 Pluto, 2401, 2401. So this is a T-square with Pluto at the power point, at the trigger point of that opposition. I wrote and spoke about this earlier. This is kind of the aspect of our present time, that Pluto Aries square, which has been building for years together. These are two really slow moving objects. So their squaring is probably active between 2017 till 2023, and it is really the breaking open of the enigma of belief, of blind following. Aries is all about throwing the wrench into the machine and breaking it down in the service of evolution, of transformation. Pluto, on the other side, is the energy which really is purged in our present time. We have also the United States, Pluto very close by. There will be a Pluto return within 2 years. But before that, Saturn is having its third exact contact with the United States Pluto. This is the chart of that third conjunction, which happens on November 20th. If we go back, as you see, 27:32 in Capricorn. If we quickly go back to the American chart, and you see this is 2732 Capricorn. So Saturn had been already earlier this year being conjunct that Pluto twice, and this is first on a direct motion, then it turned retrograde around 2 degrees Aquarius, again from heliocentric perspective naturally, and then retreated, had its second, and now on its forward motion again will have its third and final conjunction with Pluto, purging that corrupt power, going to the bottom of it, arresting whatever is not according to natural law and justice. And big operations like that, they need time. As you said, everything has to be done by the book, so it's a slow process. I mean, we had in January of this year, we had the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, which really is the base tenor of this year, at least on one side. It's Saturn and Pluto. Yes, this is a big spiritual war we are in. And on the other side, it's that energy of, let me go back here now to a present chart. Let's just pick this one, because that is now November 9, and you see I talked about that earlier. It's that other big alignment of planets in late Capricorn, which really brings in that demand for looking at the inner sanctum of all and everything, its inner truth. It's zooming in on the essentials, on what really is the essence. There's a great deal of cosmic help, I would say, to tune us into this frequency of wanting to know, of wanting to see behind the curtain, of digging deeper and deeper in a real Capricornian mode. So yes, I have here lined up a few charts for you I want to quickly go through as a build-up to where we're going. So it was interesting, we started this whole new adventure with the elections. Naturally, that was the big event. A day earlier, on November the 2nd, we had the heliocentric Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. I just want to show you here a quick picture of the heliocentric alignments. So we're going back to this, but these slower outer planets move slow. So on November the 2nd, Jupiter was exactly at the same degree as Saturn. That is a big renewal. These are the two biggest planets of our solar system. And Jupiter and Saturn together in their cycles, they make a 20-year cycle, which is very much reflecting the big socio-economic cycles, the societal changes and shifts. The last of those we had in the year 2000, prior to 9/11, and then all the other dark stuff which we had in these 2 decades past. The big meltdown financial in 2008, then another really big hit was Fukushima, and yes, there were multiple really dark things happening. It was a difficult period, a difficult 20 years which started then, and we're just at the cusp of something totally new. Energetically, heliocentrically, that's kind of the coding, the quantum coding of the energy which keeps us alive. That's solar energy. Each photon carries that basic imprint from the Sun, and the Sun receives these geometric patterns from the different planets, which change the charge of that coding all the time. So in a long story short, that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on November 2nd, which happened on the pre-manifest on the energetic plane, really is at the base of what we are now seeing playing out. And it is interesting that by December 21st, 2020, Jupiter and Saturn will also, from Earth's perspective, be aligning exactly. So this 8-week period is highly interesting. It's energetically, the new cycle started already, but on a manifesting level, we are still a bit lagging behind. We're still having to come full circle to complete this collapse cycle. The name collapse is derived from the hexagram where Jupiter and Saturn had their conjunction in the year 2000 within Taurus at 23 degrees Taurus. So with these elections, even though they were called out for the other party, everybody, all patriots, immediately became aware how big the support was really, which was suppressed naturally, but it united us. We soon enough learned that there was probably an overwhelming majority of up to 75–80% nationwide, probably 46 states at least voted red, even California, Hawaii, all the traditionally blue states. Maybe there were a few like New York or so which still were kind of slowly, slightly below the 50 mark, but overall Trump and his idea has an enormous support. We know that certainly very clearly since November the 3rd, and that has released all that fire and that commitment to help each other to work through this temporary crisis and bring everything into the clear light of day. So really what it did, it made Trump and his movement so much stronger and gave them the power to really start calling for clear action. Now there's a couple planets which I want to look at here now as we build up to this. Ceres is one of them. Ceres is one of the major asteroids. Actually, I guess it is the biggest one. It is the only one which is really spherical because of its mass. It's about 900 kilometers in diameter. Ceres is about caring and love and support and protection. It is also nourishment and motherly love, that energy which we have towards our co-creative existence, I should say, our surroundings. So with Ceres will show up quite a bit in these next few weeks, and I'll show you how. So this was when Ceres entered Pisces. There was a perfect Mars-Venus opposition. That really was bringing the fire and helping a new way of understanding reality in this sign Pisces. Pisces is the universal energies, but it's also all the subtle frequencies. So Ceres is nourishing now in these coming weeks the imaginative side, the one which allows us to see the bigger picture as it not yet has fully shown itself. That Venus-Mars definitely was a great boost, setting energies free. And again, I want to say how it ties in with the American chart. 1343 was rising at that time in Washington, and 1319 is the Earth's position in the American chart. Then, just a few days later, on the 13th, Mars turned direct. And this just a few hours after there was a Sun-Deucalion conjunction. So Mars turned direct and the Sun was at 2205 or something, very, very close by. Deucalion is an interesting little body related to Noah. It's the same character in another set of fables and myths. Deucalion prepares for some big event, some shift, some unexpected change of directions on a big societal level. It is taking the precautions. It is interesting that when this was exact, the 17th degree of Gemini was rising with Pianor, which is a strong man. So there is some real strength which is released. Also that the North Node is so close by, it's the direction of evolution, is towards finding our own voice and being self-empowered. Interesting that this is also the degree of President Trump's big stellium, most of all his Uranus. Let me just quickly show you this. 1753 Gemini is President Trump's Uranus, and you see the node, the lunar node, and his sun is here, aside from a whole series of minor planets here, Orcus, AW197, Radamantes, and Aspolos. That's I don't want to go that deep, I just show you this quickly, and this is the 17th degree, again 1741, 1753, President Trump's Uranus. So, and he is clearly the Uranian energy here, which paves the way into a new age. Uranus also is the ruling sign of Aquarius, where Saturn and Jupiter will have their epic great renewal in December, on the 21st of December. So anyway, I mentioned now the 13th when Mars turned direct, and certainly this was a big initiation moment. Then, a few days later, another big conjunction. I should mention that under this, there is the let me just go back to the heliocentric. I want to say one more thing here about conjunctions. So first we have the Jupiter Saturn conjunction on November the 2nd. Then a few days later we had a Neptune-Ceres conjunction in the heliocentric. And then we had a Mars-Uranus conjunction, both happening actually on the 12th of November. So there's lots of renewals which have been going on already. We're in the middle of that now. The next one will be when on the 16th, that's actually yesterday, when Mercury and Venus had a renewal here in Virgo. Here you see it again. Neptune-Ceres, Mars-Uranus, here they're closer together, and Jupiter-Saturn is here. So there's all these big renewals of energy going on, new cycles. And then, now we jump forward a bit, because it will take still a substantial few more days to fully get to the bottom of all that. It's a lot of work. Thousands of people probably are working on getting all these lawsuits not just filed, but to a point of clarity where decisions can be made, and it seems the decision time will start on November the 26th. The first thing which jumped to mind, that this would be probably around the time, is, as I mentioned already, on the 20th, just a few days prior, there is the third time when Saturn will conjunct the US Pluto, which will open that last gate to finalize that big process, which has been building and building for quite a few years, I would say, certainly since Trump came into office. And then the next big step up was when Q came into the picture, and the indictments were starting to be worked on. Every month, pretty much 5,000 in a steady pace. So these investigators and grand juries behind the scene, they're all working overtime. So it seems with that last final Saturn conjunction of Pluto on the 20th of the American nation's Pluto, we will enter the last phase in this spiritual battle of starting to pull out the results and act on them. So why I think the lunar node crossing the 20-degree mark, and the lunar nodes always move backwards, that's a special thing about them. Why I think that this is the initial spark, is if we divide the sign Gemini into 12 equal parts, which are the dwarfs, the first being Gemini, then Gemini Cancer, Gemini Leo, and so on and so forth. So the degrees between 1730 and 20 Gemini have the subnode of Capricorn. Okay, so we're getting into the Capricorn dwarf of Gemini. So what does they say? That says that Gemini energy will be having a strong Capricornian sub-node. Means whatever planets are in Capricorn, which are Pluto, Jupiter, Pallas and Saturn, still aside from these other ones, will be empowered. So most of all, Saturn cracking down, putting one's foot down, taking action. All the preparation has been made. Now is time for action. And what is interesting, in this moment we have Ceres rising, Ceres and Okiroi, Now this pair demands a little bit of attention. These are two minor planets, however they are the kind of the seconds on the clock which show you when something really kicks in. Now Okiroi always shows up when something is accelerated, when you step on the gas. Ceres again is that energy of caring, of doing the right thing to nourish the soul and the mind and the spirit. So it's all about that sustenance, and this true sustenance in Pisces is really of higher dimensional frequency. And that higher dimensional frequency naturally is coming in as soon as we are breaking down the facades of control. So that's a subnote here. Very important that Ceres here rising in this moment when the lunar nodes kick into a higher gear. Now just a few hours later, you see that's 12:39 p.m. in Washington on the 26th. A few hours later in the evening, the moon is exactly at its farthest point from Earth, at its apogee. That is always an important moment. And why I bring up this chart, because this chart shows it's the seed point for the 2 weeks, the moon again coming closer to Earth. So it is another turning point, and again we have the 13th degree of Cancer this time rising, again resonating with the American nation's sun here. So that means this is a time which is making big which is potentially having big shifts for the American nation. It's a new sunrise. If you think the American nation sun here, that is the sunrise point. So a new day coming. Now this is a few hours later. You see again, this was in the evening on the 26th after 7 p.m. and then in the wee hours of the 27th, Ceres and Okiroi have their exact conjunction. That's the chart for that moment, and what you see here is the moon and Uranus in a tight conjunction opposing Venus. Lots of excitement, lots of unexpected events, but in a good way. I mean, it's something which is exciting, which is unexpected, which is wild, particularly with that Scorpionic Venus. And the black moon, the dark moon, as I say, the moon is close to its apogee. So it's a rather sinister subnote which is here playing into, and this sinister subnote naturally is nothing new. It just comes more into the open and will come more into the open over the coming weeks and months. That is most certainly so. This is that same moment when Ceres and Okiroi have their conjunction, and this is now the heliocentric chart for that moment. Why I bring this one up is, let me see, the reason why I wanted to show you this one. I guess I wanted to actually show you the geocentric chart of that moment. But yeah, let me just, I guess I have the wrong one here, right. Okay, well, I don't remember why I pulled up this chart. Anyway, let's keep going to the next one here. That is right, that's the one I really wanted to focus on. Again, the Ceres Ocyroe. Think again of nourishment in an accelerated pace, at an accelerated rate. It's really rushing in now from here on, and it's about Hygeia and Ceres. This is the global chart now for this moment. Hygeia is about health and well-being. Always when Hygeia shows up this year, it has to do with that silly thing which is going on, and it shows that it's also a change of attitude, particularly with Ceres here. Ceres is all about dedication and service and getting to understand the fine print behind something. This conjunction here with the global ascendant also shows that there's some healing process which is initiated, and naturally all the subjects are kind of bonded with each other, as one implies the other. So as soon as we start seeing a break open of the deep state agenda, as soon as this gets really torn down and physically removed piece by piece, all the other dark agendas will become more obvious and clear, and we start seeing how they're really connected with one another. So this is what this implies, that this all becomes more visible and clear to everyone. It is interesting that just a few minutes actually later, you see 7:44 p.m. 7:45 p.m. actually on the 27th, there is this Ceres Ocyroe conjunction geocentrically, and just short after is that heliocentric Mercury Eris opposition, which I mentioned already at the beginning of this small broadcast here, podcast. And again, this shows to me this is the beginning of the waking up of all those who still have not gotten it, at least of a whole new wave, of a whole new additional wave, because that is the moment when truth really will become so loud that it's no more possible to suppress it, because there will be coming facts into the forefront which cannot be denied anymore. There will be clear rulings starting around that time, and a few. Okay, this is now, okay, I wanted to show you this too. This is the Greenwich chart, which has, okay, I wanted to say that Varuna here rising, Varuna opposing Jupiter, which shows that this energy, when this energy is activated, actualized, it will express in an expansive feeling. It's almost like, oh, finally, you sigh, you realize, you relax into something which you didn't know before. Jupiter at the descendant is very nice. And Varuna here, Varuna is named after a Hindu deity, and it's all about justice and holding on to a high code of ethics in that same moment now, if we go to Washington, which is 3:13 in the afternoon, you see a moon and Uranus rising. This is a very clear sign that this is an initial spark which is firing up the energies everywhere globally, particularly so in America. The epicenter is clearly Washington, D.C. And a few days later now, okay, here I brought in the midpoint chart of that moment with the American People's Chart, just to show you how it's also showing up here, with Uranus right at the 4th house cusp, 2952 versus 0009, that's less than half a degree. And again, it proves very strongly the validity and the power of the July 4, 1776 chart, this one here. That's the base chart I'm using for the American nation. And interesting also that their natal Uranus is at 855, and as we're here in, let me go back to this chart here, see that is November 27th, Earth is approaching this degree and the Sun will be opposing it within the next 2-3 days following the 27th. So the last day's 29th will be the exact opposition, and that is actually when the lunar eclipse will be in, and that will then really start shaking the buildings in a good way. All the dark structures, all the dark powers will come into a real wobble, into a downturn spiral. This is interesting here. Again, that's the midpoint chart of that Helio-Mercury Aries opposition with the American chart. You have Mercury rising, conjunct the part of fortune, conjunct the ascendant, conjunct Pallas, and Virgo is the sign of analytical thinking, of step-to-step method, of a clear plan at work. And yes, the very last minutes of Scorpio, it's when that transformational force hits its utmost complexity, with Uranus in the 1st degree of Sagittarius. This is pure fire. This is pure fireworks. This is a wild energy which is building up here in the background, still shielded off for another 10 days or so. And then, as I predict, by December the 2nd, with the final Pallas-Saturn conjunction of this year, again there were 3 too earlier, this is the final one, and the one which will take the 2 planets into their full next cycle. Pallas here at 28:34 in Capricorn, the same degree as Saturn, starting off into a new about 5-year cycle, which is about justice becoming evident, to enforce on justice, to take action, to do the detaining, the clamping down. That's all that Saturn energy with Uranus rising, when that aspect is exact. Uranus at 727, Taurus 746 is the ascendant. That is very, very tight. I could say many more things about this chart. I really keep it to the most exact aspects, and you can definitely look at them at your own pace. Just stop the video and look at the chart and see what else is standing out. It's just unbelievable how these celestial energies are so much in tune with what's going on. I said it before, a good astrologer could have forecast that eons ago, because about 5,000 years, that's about the range of exact forecast of where planets are. So I want to keep it at that. Be patient, hold the ground, stay positive. Know that we have been winning, we are winning, and it will become a big celebration very, very soon. Love you all. Have a wonderful time in that feeling of, it's like before Christmas. There's something big coming, and we are the guardians of it. We are the ones who know already, and we will be the ones people are coming to and want questions answered, because all of a sudden so many people will just really fall out of the clouds. Love you all, take care, and see you soon.